Hello there. So here we already getting towards a little bit more details, and we are sticking with daisies right now. We're working on the white part of the daisy petals, we're working on the yellow part. In terms of the materials, paints, we've got our cadmium red, we've got our ochre, cadmium yellow, we have titanium white, and those are more or less the colors we'll be using. Maybe a bit of purple or maybe some sort of brown like burnt umber, burnt sienna or something maybe. That is in terms of adding up right now, working with yellow and a little bit of the white parts. I have that same small brush that helps me to create small brush strokes, but very textury, like I grab a lot of paint on it. So I'm actually working right now trying to create the yellow part of the daisies a bit smaller, because truthfully it got a bit out of hand, like it got a little bit big and it looks like an egg. It looks like the sunny side up. So if you don't want to have your eggs instead of daisies on the canvas, so you might want to pay attention so they don't get a little bit, overwhelmingly huge. So I'm just kind of very slowly eating up some yellow part with a whitish color. You see also we've got quite a bit of underlayer. Well, it's not really underlay already. It's one of the layers that we've been layering out, layering up a lot of the lighter midtones for white petals of the daisies. So I'm just adding on to it. So if you could see, there's some bluish sort of like dirty, no, not really dirty, but like kind of not as white colors that are mixed with some blues, some greens, some yellows a little bit, partially because I was also working on the background in between the daisies, and some of that background color went on. Like it's fine, it's all great, it's actually wonderful because it's gonna add some depth. You don't want to have just plain white sitting there, like you really want to have a bit of other mid-tones within the white parts of the petals. In terms of the yellow part, so at the moment I'm just really outlining the yellow with some lighter colors, with whitish colors, but that is this stage. We're actually gonna be trying to create a different type of contrast around the yellow areas. We are gonna be smudging some parts of the yellows with white. We're gonna be adding more maybe lighter whiter color highlights towards some other part of yellow, because if we're just gonna have one same contrast around this yellow middle parts of daisies, they're gonna have effect of being cut out. They're not gonna be belonging to the daisy. We need some shadows, we need some areas that are maybe blending in with white, which is gonna break that oval circle or whatever that is, so we don't see it completely fully, clean outline of it. So that's like going to be happening, but at the moment I'm speeding up some parts of the videos because it's very repetitive movement, but you just have to keep in mind, it's not a super quick process. It's very relaxing, it's really fun, and you're just like try to get into that mode, the mode of these beautiful daisies. Okay, so here, for example, I'm trying to, because it's this particular flower is really on our foreground, so I'm trying to give it a little bit of a shadow lights, like just to has some volume there. So when you are working like on one of the first steps of creating the white petals, try to start with more of a darkish tones, like It's either like a bit of with ochre mixed up with a bit of ochre and yellows. I mean, we're talking about, of course, titanium white, a lot of white, mostly white, but with a dab of maybe a little bit of blue, or maybe a little bit of green, or maybe even a bit of crimson, just to give you a little bit of darker tones, darker. Well, they will be in the end. Like now, I'm adding just a lot of white on top, and I'm not killing all the slightly darkest shading underneath the white petals. They're just giving you a bit of volume for sure, because then there's its effect of shadows, there's effect of something is living there. Alright, so here actually, yes, I won't like to comment on what's going on here. Now I'm going into the yellow parts, and I am adding quite nice, quite bright highlights. They are not the brightest, but that would be, let's say, maybe a third or second or third lighter tone after the shadows that are kind of on the bottom of the yellow. So these are, again, it's all working on getting volume. We have light shadows. Light shadow, it's very simple concept, but it's super duper important when we have visible, noticeable difference between light and shadows. So I am adding up some lighter colors here, lighter highlights on the yellow middle parts of our daisies. And I'm gonna be even going with even lighter shading. In terms of the colors, it's all that same set. We have our cadmium yellow, we have our ochre, titanium white, cadmium red as well. But right now we're already moving really just between the yellows and whites, and that's what we want to be focusing on. And small steps, we're taking very small steps, small brush strokes. It's already it's not a huge areas. We're working on quite like somewhat small little parts of the flower, and we want to create volume. And I'm also, by how I'm working with lights and shadows of the yellow part, I'm also kind of smudging the edges here and there between the yellow and white, right? Like I'm here and there, I'm like touching up as if I'm, while I'm going, and if I feel like it really makes sense, I kind of already get into that area and like smudge the border lines, because I don't want it to feel like it's cut out. And I keep coming back to this one particular little guy here, that one that's like the closest to us, like it's really on the edge of the canvas. It's really in our foreground, and I just really want to touch up the yellow part with a little bit more shadows, maybe just adding things up. And it's basically the process. You just touch up, go back and forth. Look, sometimes oil doesn't dry so fast, and when we can take that opportunity to our advantage, for sure. So keep layering up. Sometimes it gets way too wet, way too much paint, and you really can't add anything. For sure, that happens also. But when you are at the stage where you have a nice juicy wet background there going on, so back layer, they just keep adding a few things and lightly blending them. Well, not like with a blending brush, of course. This is, we want to keep the texture, but just connecting some of the colors. Like if it's a shadow, like just maybe the top part of the shadow, connect it with, just give it a few smudges with a brush with the lighter part of that area, whatever that is. If it's a yellow, if this is the yellow part of the flower we're talking about, or the white parts of the flowers, or if it could be anything else in terms of painting in general. And here you go. I am adding those beautiful little teeny little highlights, and they really actually white, because actually my part of the yellow flower right now there is not dry, because this was one big sitting, like I was sitting there and painting all this yellow and white parts. And so I'm taking pure titanium white, and I'm going with little strokes, very little movement on top of the yellow. So I broke that one corner of the yellow, because I have the layer underneath is very wet right now. So my titanium white, pure white that I took on the brush, it actually blends in a little bit with the other colors. Well, in our case is the yellow part. So, and you could see, yes, that this is the stage now. I want to break down that ovally cut out effect. I want to just to connect them to the yellow petals. I want to connect the middle yellow part of the flower to the white petals. So this is what we are doing. We are adding nice highlights, not just to the yellow areas, to the white petals as well. I want to add even whiter, like slightly, again, very small movements. I don't want to cover everything in pure white. I want those beautiful, gorgeous blues, greens, purplish underneath the white, the shadowy white petals, that they have slightly blues and purples in them, some greens and yellows as well, from all the mixing all together. But still on top, I really want a bit of that contrast. So I want them to shine with white. So I'm adding things up a little bit more and more in each little flower. There's a lot of flowers, so I'm speeding things up a bit. So to just again, that's same thing, same adding same white, like really beautiful white contrasts. And it's just really going already towards the end of the getting the daisies ready, almost there, but that's basically our process. Since this is the stage working on some details that are creating white highlights, this could be a great opportunity to add up more visible white petals, like just here and there, something really sticking out, like something contrasting, like one little either edges of the petals, or maybe one or two petals themselves, like really on a more of a contrasting background there. That would be good if you decided you want something like that, if you didn't have it just yet. Well, that was quite a long segment. Sorry, I really wanted to go all the way with you guys. It's not difficult at all. It's just a bit of more detailed process than, let's say, some other parts of this project. But it's fun, it's great, and hey, you're gonna have your gorgeous daisies there. I'll see you guys soon in the next segment.